Okay. My name's One Year Carter, Serb, whatever you want to call me. Um, Few people know about this. Actually, quite a bit of my close friends know about this already. I tweet about it frequently, but I wanted to publicly address this um, for the last time, unless things, get into another shitstorm with this certain person. Um, I guess I won't. I won't address their name. I won't address uh, their alias because, out of respect for them, they wish to not be spoken about anymore. So, um, this whole video is gonna be, I guess, just me telling my story, my side of a toxic relationship. Um, some people know who this is. I'd like if you wouldn't address who it is or send this video to them, because I just want to tell my side of it, my perspective, how I feel about it, all that, whatever. But yeah, I guess I'll start from was last summer. One of my friends had been dating this person at the time, and they posted about them on Twitter. So I decided to throw them a follow, and I privately messaged them one day, and we became friends. We would talk here and there over the summer, nothing really serious. But September 2019 rolls around. A very traumatic experience happens for this person. I won't address what happened because that's something personal to them, and I feel that they don't deserve. I don't deserve to say that. So this event happens. Also, school starts. This is kind of where we started talking more, DMing more, and getting to know each other a lot more. Both of us were not in very good spots. I'd been dealing with issues with my parents and myself. And we were kind of not getting super serious or anything because she just got out of a relationship, and this other other traumatic event happened that is really, really, really emotionally scarring. But we would DM every day. Like, we started trusting each other and being there for each other when we needed each other. How things go when you talk to people. But October rolls around, and she's talking to me about this guy that she was talking to and I guess dating. I won't address who that is either for their sake. But I'd been giving her advice on what to say to him, general advice, because I assumed she wanted to date him or take things serious. But those things fell through or whatever. And at this point is when we started taking things serious, me and this other person. We kind of started dating around mid-October. And I knew the risks before going in, but I kind of threw those to the side and didn't think anything of it. And I will say I'm not very experienced when it comes to relationships. This was one of my first, like, really, really serious ones. But yeah, things were okay to start with. Arguments would happen. Just little petty shit, like, I guess if I wouldn't respond quick enough, she'd get angry at me. There were also meltdowns that would occur from time to time that I tried dealing with, and I just tried supporting her, like being there for her. But I've learned that's the last thing that she really even wanted, whether I was the reason why she was mad or it was something else. But I was always making sure that I was there for her, because that's just who I am as a person. I don't want someone to feel shitty when I'm able to do something about it and be there for them, because that's just who I am. But I'd say late October, early November, I asked if we could just not talk for a few days or take a little break from talking, because stuff had been weighing down on me mentally with my parents, and this relationship that had just started. I had been thinking to myself, is this what I want? Do I want to go into something with a person that is also emotionally not broken, but distraught, not in the best mental state? And this break was about 3 days. I felt horrible for being away from her, and I came back and I told her that this is something that I want. I want to continue things with you, and I want both of us to work towards bettering ourselves together, like side by side. November is when things like, we started spending every second of the day, or not every second of the day, but majority of the day together, like either FaceTime, Discord, or like anything. This is when I started realizing that I'd been dragged away from my friends a little bit, but I was not thinking much of it because I wanted to spend time with this person and I wanted to let things progress with this person. And yeah, it was like the honeymoon phase or whatever you call that shit. But I didn't think much of it at the time, but I noticed that I was being dragged away from my friends and spending more time on this person, which I wasn't against at the time. But I'd say late November, meltdowns and like arguments they started getting way worse, and I asked her if we could take another break, because I didn't know even if she wanted to be a part of this anymore. And it was more out of self-doubt that I wanted this break, and I just wanted to figure things out and kind of think everything through again. And probably lasted another 3 days, came back, and things were good for a bit. December rolls around, and this is when like shit starts to get really bad with arguments and all that shit. But whenever she'd argue with me, it could be literally over anything, like the smallest shit ever. But she'd find a way to gaslight and, just make me feel like shit. She would say manipulative things to me, like actually be putting me down, insulting me. Like, this is when it started. Could be about my physical appearance, things I say, just anything she could find to kind of put me down. At first, I was kind of putting my foot down with her and like telling her, what you're doing is wrong, like this is toxic, I don't enjoy what you're doing, or I don't think this is right. and she would just spiral into this weird, crazy meltdown every time and start harming herself and making me feel like shit and making me feel like I'm the reason that this happened, when it could have been anything she was actually mad over instead of me. But January comes around, and this is probably one of the worst points in our relationship. But she was driving to school to pick up her parking pass because she had just gotten her license, and we were on FaceTime while she was driving, which I've always told her that I'm not really for that. I don't want her to get hurt, obviously. I don't want anybody else to get hurt as well. And I didn't end the phone, or I didn't end the FaceTime, but she had gotten into an accident while we were on FaceTime. She T-boned a truck, or a flatbed truck, from behind, ran a red light, and totaled her car. This was like a really, really, really like key point of the relationship, because this is when she needed me. Like, I needed to be there every second of the day for her. I started dodging friends, I started dodging responsibilities, and dropping like everything I could to be there for her while she was, because she got a little bit hurt from the accident. She was bruised up. She didn't go to the hospital because she was afraid of the hospital and didn't think it was going to help her, which I tried telling her they want to help you and they want you to feel better. Like, it'll make you feel better if you go to the hospital. But that didn't end up happening. But yeah, I'd be there on Discord, like on the phone, on the call with her, like every hour or every second that I could possibly be there for her. And when I'd wanted to go, like I'd tell her, hey, I'm tired, I want to lay down, I can call you on my phone or something, or hey, I think I'm going to go to sleep, something like that. She would just start guilt tripping me and saying I'm selfish and telling me all these horrible things that I would actually end up believing. Like, she had used my own, personal fears against me, and my own personal, like, traumas against me. Like, gaslighting me, manipulating me, being controlling, saying I'm selfish, like, for not being there when she needs me, which I had already, tried. I'd been there as much as possible. But she would say things like, she would literally tell me to kill myself, would tell me that my adoptive parents don't love me, my adoptive parents don't care about me, that my biological parents gave me up for a reason, told me I was going to fail in life, told me SoundCloud wasn't going to work, anything. But yeah, also a little thing I forgot, I'd been open with money with her. Like, if she wanted something, 9 times out of 10 I'd say yes, or just get it for her, whether it was like a plushie, food, nicotine, but yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with that. I didn't really ever say no either. I just, kind of gave in because, hey, this is going to make her happy. This is going to make her feel good or whatever. Make her feel loved. So, of course, I did that. February comes around and things get really rocky. This is when meltdowns and arguments would get, like, horrible. She'd break up with me over text, not over the phone or voice or anything, and go around on Twitter saying rude shit about me or literally publicly humiliate me, and I wouldn't really know what to do about it. That obviously made me feel like garbage. I had just gotten used to it, kind of. I had just taken her shit. I had just been fully submissive and let it happen. She had told me, after meltdowns happen, she always tells me, like, I just want you to put your foot down. You don't have to be mean about it, but just tell me what I'm doing. Tell me if I'm being a bitch. Like, tell me anything. And the thing is, when I would try to do that earlier on in the relationship, or, whenever I tried to do that, I could tell that it was hurting her, or, like, making her think horrible things of me. And I was just trying to do what she had asked of me. And I was trying to be, I was trying to make sure that shit wouldn't happen again. But I could tell it would hurt her in the moment, and I just felt like absolute garbage, like I was feeling like I was putting her down and just, stomping on her when she was helpless, in the middle of a, like, full-blown meltdown. It just didn't feel right. I didn't feel good doing that, because I feel like I'd always have to apologize afterwards, and I would if I was doing that. But yeah, this is when I got in contact with one of her, or not got in contact, but started talking to one of her IRL friends, because they hung out a lot. I knew of him. Was a pretty cool guy. I'd see him on FaceTime a lot, and we started playing games together, like Fortnite, whatever, just fucking around. And I'd go to him for, advice, or, like, ask how she was doing if, we weren't talking too much, or something was, going wrong between us. I'd always check in with him and, try to do my best with her, because that's all I wanted to do. I wanted her to feel like she was the greatest. Around late February, she had been going out a lot more with her friends and stuff, which, wasn't happening. It was barely happening, like September, October, November, December. But, like, January and February is when she started, hanging out with her friends a lot more. She'd drink a lot, or not a lot, but with her friends she would drink a lot. She would smoke weed quite a bit with her friends. She never do it on her own, but she always had nicotine with her, which I didn't really agree with. I don't agree with the drinking. I don't agree with weed. I don't really agree with nicotine either. That's just me as a person. I don't like altering myself. I've been addicted on my prescriptions before. I've had my experiences with that shit, and I'm not for it. And that's the thing. She'd always been, open about talking about drugs with me, or like, she'd always tell me, I want to try, like, ketamine, I want to do, or no, not really coke, but she'd say, I'll do coke one day, or I want this, I want to do acid, I want to try shrooms, I want to do all this, and I tried to be okay with that, and, not be too intrusive, because it's not my choice. But with somebody with her past, how traumatic shit is for her, and I know how she handles shit, I just know that it wouldn't be healthy usage, which kind of pops up later on. But she had also been addicted to, I forget the name, a Prazolam or something. It's like a Xanax, basically. But she had been taking her grandma's prescriptions from her, or her grandma was giving them to her, whatever it was. And she was, kind of abusing them. I think she used to be on benzos a while ago, or some shit called kratom. Basically a drink that kind of is supposed to get you off benzos or some shit. I don't know too much about it, but apparently it get you fucked up or something. But yeah, I wasn't really for the drug usage and all that. I mean, I've been sober for a while. But March comes around, and this is when COVID happens, and like school shuts down. It's online now. So in the first 2 months of our relationship, she was heavily dependent on me, and that kind of led into January when that crash happened as well. But then things straightened out in around February when she felt like she didn't need me, or I guess maybe she was detaching herself from me. And then towards the end months, it was me depending on her, because that's what I had gotten used to. I had thought to myself, I have to be available for this person every second of the day, or I have to drop whatever I'm doing to be there for this person or suit their needs, do what they want to do. And I had grown distant from a lot of my friends by doing that, and that ended up like making me feel like my friends don't like me, or I was just thinking paranoid, or I was being paranoid and thinking bad of myself, thinking shit things. But March comes around, COVID happens, online school happens. We had planned to meet up in April for her spring break. Her family was going on a trip to Florida, and I was going to fly over to Florida, stay at a buddy's house, and drive up to their resort and meet her family, meet her, and just hang out for the week. And that fell through because of COVID, which is unfortunate, but now that I look at it from an outside perspective, it's probably better that we didn't meet, because I wouldn't be handling it as well as I am. Arguments are still really bad. Around late March, she breaks up with me again, and we have a big argument. She's hurting herself. I'm at work. I can't do much. I'm 20 hours away. So I decided to contact her mom and ask her if she could check on her. I didn't say anything about, sending her to a mental hospital or some bullshit, but I'd asked her to check on her, make sure she was okay, not, fucking herself up, hurting herself. And her mom ended up trying to take her to a mental hospital, which is something she is very, very, very afraid of. And that's not something she wanted to do. I had always encouraged her to, seek further help. She has a therapist. She got on SSRIs around late February, and the SSRIs were, making her mood a lot better. It's not my choice, again, or it's, it's not, I'm not the one that's doing it, and it's not my choice for her to do it or not, but I just noticed that it was her mood was doing better, or she was better about controlling her mood, rather. And she was going to therapy weekly, and I'd asked, I know it's not my personal therapy, so it's not really up to me to get to know what happens, but I would always ask, hey, did it go okay? Or are you alright? And she'd always told me, I don't really talk about much at therapy, I just kind of bullshit my therapist. I don't talk about anything super serious. And that led me to think, hey, you're not trying, or you could be doing better, and I want to see you do better. I would always try to be there, and just support her and be like, I feel like you should use therapy to your advantage, to get over your past. But I don't know. I don't really ever know what happened with that. This is when things get really shit. This is April. This is the last month we were dating. We had planned to see each other in June. I was gonna fly to Virginia and meet her parents, hang out for a week or so. And yeah, but this is when she got really vocal about drug usage. She'd always been, talking about drugs, but now she was like, okay, I'm gonna do something. One day she's like, hey, I want to do shrooms. She kind of, told me about what it's like and all that. And I was trying to be okay with that, but I knew it was something that could potentially, fuck her up. Psychedelics and trauma don't really mix well, depending on the person, and this is somebody who doesn't handle trauma well. But I had agreed to pay for them, so we went to a dealer. I backed out, and I was like, I don't want you doing this. Like, I'm really, really, really scared. I'm really concerned. Which she took that as manipulation, or me trying to control her, but that was just me, being concerned. I backed out. She fucking blocked me. She told me I was a piece of shit. I was trying to get her a target on her back. She told me to kill myself. My friend that was talking to me about psychedelics had been talking to her too. She told him to go cut his wrists, fucking anything. I ended up paying for them, and she took them that night, and I trip sat her the whole time, and it went fine, but she wasn't doing anything productive. She was just taking the shrooms to, feel happy, feel stress-free, and wasn't really, looking for answers for anything. But that happened, and I'm like, I thought it was a one-time thing. A week passes, and she's doing shrooms again with her friend. I didn't pay for these, I don't think, and yeah, she ended up doing them. It went fine. This is when I started talking to her like, hey, I don't really think you should be doing this often, or I don't think you should be doing this at all. It really hurts to be seeing you do this to yourself. And she would just always freak out at me when I was trying to tell her like something about her, like that I noticed that wasn't, right, or I didn't think was right. And she freaked out at me, obviously. About 10 days later, she told me she wanted to try acid. I told her, you gotta stop this. It's not doing any good for you. Like, this isn't gonna help you. And yeah, she broke up with me again. Didn't end up getting that acid, but a few days later, we were on a break, and then a few days later, she was getting acid again, and she actually got it this time. She texted me, she's like, we're still broken up, but can we talk while I'm doing acid? I was like, okay. I felt like shit, but I still chose to be there for her because, that's what I'm used to. And the acid was bunk. Like, it didn't work at all. It was placebo. She went over to her friends and smoked weed, stayed up until like 4 in the morning, and I stayed texting her the whole time. And I felt used. And I still decided to stay there for her. even after all she was doing to me. But that happened. This is when I vented to my mom, because I had no other choice. I tried contacting her friends, getting them to help out, and it just wasn't working. But I vented to my mom about what she was doing to herself, and my mom ended up contacting her mom, and she called me on the phone. She was like, "Why would you do that?" I told my mom that you were lying, and I told her I wasn't doing drugs, and she told me I have to block you on everything, that I'm a threat to you, or to her family, and that we can never speak again. And she blocked me for a bit, but later that night she was like, really drunk, called me on Discord, and we were on the phone for like 4 hours, and we both promised each other that we were going to fix this. She was gonna fess up to her mom and tell her that she was doing drugs and that I was just trying to help and get her away from that, and we'd agreed on that. And things went on, like we started getting distant, like really distant. We would talk every day, but it wasn't, anything super serious. One day she tried acid again, and I got so just upset because I'd been lied to, or like I thought she wasn't gonna do it again. She was just gonna be done with that shit, and we were gonna, fix things. But she did acid again. It was bunk again. We were gonna fix things, and I figured out she downloaded Tinder, and she was like, "Don't worry, I'm just using it for entertainment purposes. I'm not flirting with anybody." And I tried thinking nothing of it, and a week passes. She's like, "Hey, I am gonna hang out with this guy tomorrow. He's really interesting. I'm really intrigued." Like, hyping him up for some fucking reason. I'm like, "Why would you tell me that? Like, why are you telling me this?" And she claimed I was being super sensitive and asked for a break, or just didn't want to talk. And I'm like, "Okay, whatever, fuck you." A day passes and she messages me, "Hey, I hung out with that guy. I really like him. I don't want to date anymore. I'm sorry. I want a real relationship. I want real love." And she called me on the phone, gave me some bullshit closure, and yeah. A few days pass. I ended up contacting her mom and showed her hard proof of her having those psychedelics in her household. And her mom texted me, "Don't contact her. Like, she doesn't want to talk to you. Have you seen the horrible shit that he's been saying to her friends, and her?" Which I didn't fucking understand. I've been mad at her maybe 5 times ever. Haven't even said hurtful shit. Well, haven't said purposely hurtful shit to her. The reason why I hit up her mom about this is because I know this new guy she's with has drugs on him, and I was really scared that she was just gonna spiral and start taking all these drugs, and just live a really destructive lifestyle. But I don't know if that's the case. I don't have any fucking clue anymore. A few days pass. I remove her on everything. I delete every picture I have of her. I try to just block out everything and move on. And she comes back and messages me like, "Just leave me alone. Don't fuck around with my sister." I was like, "What? I don't get it." She said I was controlling, toxic, manipulative, all that. And she'd gotten into my head, and I started believing that. And it made me feel fucking horrible. And I was venting to my friends about that, and they're like, you're not that. She's controlling you, even when you're not in the relationship. And my friend went on and tweeted, fuck this person they're at on Twitter. And people started DMing her, like, I don't know what, hurtful shit and all that. And she came to me and she's like, why are you doing this? Like, why'd you tell people to DM me? And I'm like, I didn't want this person to tweet this, and I wish they didn't. I'm sorry, but it happened. And this is when she started guilt tripping me and like texting me, like spamming my phone, calling me, and I was just ignoring it. I wasn't paying attention to it. I was just letting it happen. And she started saying things like, I'm gonna kill myself, or you're gonna regret when I'm gone tonight. And I ended up picking up one of her FaceTime calls, and I noticed her rubbing an object like across her wrists and grabbing for pill bottles. So I had asked, hey, are you trying to hurt yourself, or are you harming yourself? And she said, what does it matter anyways? So I basically hung up the phone and called 911 and said, hey, I have a friend that's harming themselves and I don't have any way of helping them. I gave them her address and they showed up, and I don't really know what happened. But the next day, her dad contacts me and says just to leave her alone, just stop. And this is when I just let go of everything. I gave up. Well, not gave up, but I just quit caring about it. Tried to move on. Try to reassure myself that what I was doing was right. And she just keeps coming back, keeps DMing me every week or so, no matter what it is, like just getting back into my head. It's still even happening 2 months after this shit's died down. But I guess that's the majority of it. I'm most likely forgetting a shit ton of things because I'm moving on. I'm trying to forget about everything. I wish the best for this person, even after all the wrong they've done on me, all the wrong I've done on them. I hope they can recover from, I don't know, their personal traumas and live a happy life. That's all I want them to do, really. Even with how poorly they treated me. How poorly they are still treating me by hitting me up every other week. But I just want this shit to be over. I wanted this off my chest. I don't want to speak about it anymore unless it's in private or something. I just want it to be done. I want to move on.